Quebec City has canceled the show of American musician Sean Feucht. The singer is a prominent figure in the MAGA movement, which has created problems on his North American tour. Charlottetown, Moncton, Gatineau, and Ferguson's Cove, Nova Scotia have all revoked his permits to perform. The regions say that the measures were made due to safety concerns. Rowan Kennedy has more.
Quebec City has canceled the upcoming show of a controversial Christian musician. Sean Feucht was scheduled to play on July 25th at Expo Cité. The city, which owns the venue, says the presence of the artist was not mentioned in the contract, so now it's been terminated. Feucht is closely aligned with Trump allies and has spoken out against abortion and 2S LGBTQ+ rights. The news comes after mounting pressure from opposition parties in Quebec City and community groups who promised to protest outside the venue.
They want to spread extremely conservative religious messages to the population here in Quebec. We think Expo State took the right decision. They couldn't take another decision. I think they must be more vigilant next time.
The cities of Charlottetown and Moncton revoked permits for Feucht's shows after public outcry. So did Parks Canada in Halifax, all of them citing safety and security considerations. Here's Feucht reacting to the news in a video posted on social media.
This is the classic playbook of the media, of the anti-Christian bigots out there that hate Christians, that hate worship and prayer. This is the same exact place where people gathered for a Pride event last week, but now they're not so tolerant when peaceful Christians want to come together.
One author who studies Christian movements says Feucht will use the attention created by the canceled shows to garner support and money.
And I think it's one thing to say we have a set of security concerns about this. I think once public officials begin making value statements that might be very laden with politics, I think that does play into Feucht's hands, because then he can say, see, they're applying a different standard to me than they're applying to other groups.
Feucht found another venue near Halifax owned by a religious group to perform at instead. There's no word of that happening near Quebec City. The promoter for the event, Burn 24/7 Canada, did not respond to a request for comment. Rowan Kennedy, CBC News, Montreal.
So the story raises questions about who gets to take center stage and who gets to dismiss them as being controversial or perhaps unsafe. Now, this is something the comedy industry has certainly dealt with and something my next guest knows a lot about. Mark Breslin is Yuk Yuk's CEO and co-founder. He is in Toronto, and we reached him at Yuk Yuk's venue. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Ian. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So how do we draw the line when it comes to allowing somebody to perform, whether it's a comedian or a musician, that maybe a lot of people feel their message is inappropriate?
I think the only time that you can really cancel somebody or censor somebody is under the condition that what they are saying is so egregiously wrong and potentially violent that you just can't have them there. I think that's the only time that you can do, or if they're a convicted felon. I think under those two circumstances, I understand why people would not feel comfortable with having them. Other than that, they're just saying things that you don't agree with.
And you walk the walk. I came to your club a couple of years ago and interviewed you and asked you, where you draw the line. You basically gave the same answer. And at the time, I asked you, if somebody came to your club, I mean, you happen to be Jewish. If somebody came to your club and wanted to make jokes diminishing the Holocaust, would they be allowed to do that? And I think you said you would allow that.
Not only would we allow that, but in the early days of Yuk Yuk's, we actually had a festival of Holocaust humor.
Huh. How do you... And looking back at it, was that...
We only did that once, Ian.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting, though. You only did that once. Why didn't you do it again?
We did it. We did it. It was interesting. It was outlaw. It was funny. And then we moved on. And we do other things, too.
So what about this case where you have a singer who is prominent in the MAGA movement and you have people, from what I understand, who lived around where these concerts were going to be held, and at least some of them said, you know what, I don't like the crowd that he's going to attract. I don't like his message. It makes me feel unsafe in my own neighborhood, so we should not allow him to perform. What would you say to those neighbors?
I would say that you have an agenda which is not really what you need to have. These people are not going to cause any violence. Again, you're just not going to agree with what they say, which is how I feel. I don't agree with what they say. I don't agree with everything every comic says. But if you're going to be in the entertainment business, you have to accept the idea that some people are going to do things that are controversial. But here's another question. All the people who booked him in the first place, and I know nothing about this guy, didn't they do some research to find out that he was potentially a problem? Because censorship is bad enough, but when people start to cancel people, performers, that's in a totally different world and is completely unacceptable. So if you're a promoter, find out about the act that you're promoting.
Mark, public taste can be a bit of a pendulum. And I've sat particularly in comedy clubs, not yours, but other comedy clubs where, frankly, I like stand-up, but I felt very uncomfortable sometimes with some of the content. Then I feel like we got to a stage where a lot of comedians were very afraid of getting canceled. And I wonder, where's the pendulum right now?
The pendulum right now is swinging back against cancel culture. The comedians who are showing up now are quite angry at the idea that there are things they can and can't say dictated by nothing more than public opinion. So I feel that the pendulum is swinging back. How far it's swinging back, I'm not really sure.
One last thing. If somebody who's watching this feels angry and threatened by maybe a comedian on your stage or a musician on someone else's stage, what's your advice to that person who feels angry and threatened?
Stay home and watch TV.
And listen, Mark, one other thing. Are you holding your own phone for this interview?
I am.
Okay, you're a
I'm
very
the
funny
hardest
guy.
working man in show business.
You
I don't have
are.
a retinue of people that are just going to hold my phone for me.
Yeah, you see, I do, actually. But anyway, thank you very much for doing this interview. It's always nice talking to you.
You're welcome, Ian. Thank you.
Mark Breslin, Yuk Yuk's CEO and co-founder.